A fresh perspective can often increase the viability of a more diverse set of solutions to solve problems and deliver results. And for Jeremy Renaud, he's hoping his experience working on national, provincial, and local projects, as well as his time and extensive experience working in the nonprofit sector, will lead him to victory in his pursuit to represent the people of Ward 6 in Windsor as their new city council member. Renaud took some time out to join me this week to discuss his platform in greater detail, which centers around making Windsor a more accessible place to live, work, and play in more ways than one. Renaud also shares his thoughts on why this election is pivotal for the future trajectory of the city of Windsor. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Take a moment to welcome you to the program, my friend, and I'm super excited to talk to you about the future of Windsor and your run for city council. Great to see you again, my friend, and thank you so very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Jeremy, I know that you shared with me that running for city council was something in the back of your mind for a while. So tell me, why do you want the job of representing Ward 6, buddy?
All right. Well, I come from a long line, family that actually has long ties to the area here through the parents and the Janice that go back to almost well over a century. And being the son of a social worker who gave all of her free time to the Filipino community, my dad, who was both a teacher and a coach that gave all of his time to the community, it's by osmosis that I had inherently developed that as well, giving back to the community, both locally in my ward and across the city and beyond. So with that, moving forward, as I had mentioned earlier, I think representing the area and the community that you grew up in, that you love, is a great honor and something that I've had in my mind. I would honestly say for 20 years. It's something that, I thought that's something I'd like to do someday. And this is probably when I was in school. And I looked at the leaders that were in these capacities that had made and had executed great work. And along the way, I've able to develop my experience in professional, personal, and volunteer capacities to put together a comprehensive resume so that I can bring that to the table. And also, more importantly, being a resident, a lifelong resident, and a parent, obviously I'm very aware of the issues that we face, and I believe that I can represent our ward to tackle those issues and bring us into a new forum for not only this generation but future generations, when people like my son or my friends' kids become the community leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that part of your platform for running for office, but it always starts with collaboration and connection. So let's dive into some of the platform issues that you think are important this November, my friend.
All right. Well, one element, and I'm trying to encapsulate it to not only my ward, but citywide, basically safe neighborhoods. And I'm trying to put that into a bucket where safe neighborhoods, not only from issues with crime. But when I look at example in my own ward, streets, traffic calming, just in general, starting with streets, speeding is one element, and obviously access and safety for kids, access for pedestrians to walk and enjoy the roads, or cyclists, for example. So one of the goals I'm looking at when it comes to complete streets is enabling traffic calming, slowing down the speed limits, enabling vision zero, where design meets function. So psychologically, people will over time learn to be respectful of everyone else on and off the road, and make it a safe environment for, again, our residents and those who pass through Ward 6. But including in that, obviously, with roads and speed limits, is obviously implementation of bike lines and walking crosswalks and lighting down many streets, including the one that I grew up on, Coventry. It's unfortunately, it's pitch black at night, and there was a unfortunate death years ago just outside my house into the neighbor's one. So that was just because, unfortunately, the person could not see the person that was walking, and unfortunately they were dragged. But across the many areas, you'll hear it, people are speeding, and then next thing you know, there's casualties, there's deaths. So what we have to do is definitely bring that down, and Vision Zero shoots for 0%, which is 0% casualties and deaths. So that is one area, and again, I put it into one bucket, safe neighborhoods. Obviously, in another capacity, being homeowners and residents in the area, flood mitigation is something that we have to continuously tackle. I know that many people have experienced the hardship that was created through this capacity. Also, I'm fighting for active green spaces, and there's something that I will announce in the future that I do want to kind of keep close to me, but something that I'm very excited about, because I do want to keep and capture the green spaces that we have in our Ward 6, and I have a tremendous way, I think, that will honor the community and the history here. And finally, at a citywide level, I do have some platforms, socio and economic business development, and actually that's where it dovetails into one of the elements that we'll talk about today, diversity and inclusion. So having known you, for example, for over a decade, just a very little but a quick background to my experience working with individuals with physical disabilities or organizations. When I was in university, I helped out with St. Catherine's Community Living as a buddy. So I would do that actually all in my free time. I had the best experience. I would go on to help fundraise and build and run a multi-purpose sports and recreational complex for the disabled through the ICHA Sports Complex, or Noveleta Rosati Complex. And that led to other capacities, working on events for the parasport community, into managing Special Olympics Canada as its GM. So working with the intellectual community, intellectual disabilities. So along that way, I've been exposed to working with individuals from a variety of disabilities, both physical and intellectual. And the one thing that I really want to talk about, and I share the same sentiments with you, is that we've seen tremendous progress. And for you, someone like you, I would say if there was a coin in my hand right now, you've been on all the sides of the coin, the heads, the tails, and even the sides, because you've advocated for the community, you've worked in the community, you volunteered, and you've been in all the capacities. But though there have been significant improvements that have been done. For example, we've seen the implementation of what we call EDI, or equity, diversity, and inclusion policies in organizations, which is absolutely fantastic. And we've seen the great work of organizations like John McGivney, Assisted Living, Southwestern Ontario, and many more. I do 100% agree and am very sympathetic to the fact that we need to do more in terms of employment opportunities for both physically and intellectually disabled. And I do want to stress that in some capacities I've had, if it's working previously at Easter Seals or volunteering as a chair on organizations, it's like, I want to say this in a very nice way, untapped reservoir of talent. And these are people that have exceptionally bright minds, people that have education and skills that they can bring to the table. And now through accessibility, through our venues and facilities, we've created opportunities for people to work. But now we have to do more and start with a top-down approach, possibly through the development of policies that speak to possibly including more people to be hired, like an actual ratio, and fight for that so that we create more job opportunities. Or as you mentioned, put out a challenge to our local communities, if it's either citywide or in our wards, to work with our local businesses to say, hey, we have great people that have the skills and assets that can work at your organization. Why not give them a shot, and let's try and move the bar forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I wanted to also touch on with you today, Jeremy, is the need to sort of increase transportation options for folks with disabilities, because if you live in the city and you rely on public transportation and you have a disability, sometimes it's harder to get around the city. So I'm wondering your thoughts on how we can curb transportation concerns for folks with disabilities as well.
All right. Well, I think you actually brought up a great point where, we have a task force that works together with the accessibility community, but we have to also tap into transit, and we have to bring forward to the forefront, the issues that you face and that the physical disabilities community faces, so that we hear it at a municipal level that can go back to transit and then implement strategies that make it more accessible for people to use transit, if it's diversifying the lines or opportunities. I know that from a bike standpoint, for example, we have more bike racks that are on buses. So those things, they come through a process, right? And we can only do that with people like you to get your input and engagement, and then bring those forward to make more accessible opportunities for the transit system.
Yeah, and Jeremy, when you look at the overall state of the city of Windsor, what comes to mind and your thoughts on how the state of the city is currently, and if elected, how do you want to improve the state of the city?
All right. Well, it's kind of ironic that you mentioned that, because one of my platforms is actually focused on municipal at a level that extends far beyond my Ward 6, and it's advocating for socio and economic business development, diversified investments, community enhancement, addition of transportation lines. I know that we look at 518X and others that will then develop more lines. But if I could wave a magic wand, if skies were blue and people could say, what's something you could change right now? I know that we are making improvements, and we have, for example, transit that goes from Windsor to Amherstburg. I would love to see a regional network. I would love to see our transit become regional in nature, where we connect people to and from other municipalities for work, rest, and play. I think that will open up opportunities for us to work together to increase job opportunities, to help people get from point A to point B. In terms of this opportunity could be work, but then I still believe there's opportunities to identify, prioritize, and implement more strategies for accessibility across the board. And it's a community that we can't ignore. I know that our MP Eric Kuzmerichek just rose at the House of Commons recently to fight for a bill through a second reading, and if it's passed, then it will create more opportunities for financial benefit for those Canadians with disabilities. So you can see there are people that are working at the top, trying to help us on the front line, for lack of better words, but we can do more at the front line to help each other.
Yeah, and Jeremy, you have spent a great deal of your career in public service, and I'm curious, when you look at what is at stake at this election, why do you think people have to be engaged in the process and really make their voices heard at the ballot box this October? October. Why is this election so important in your view?
All right. Well, it's very important because right now in each of the wards, residents are making their decisions. They're trying to find a representative that will advocate for them. But it's also important because you need people that will champion different types of issues. And right now, I put this as diversity and inclusion because I'm also looking for opportunities to increase opportunity for women and Indigenous groups and other communities. But there has to be a way that there are not just myself, but others that champion these issues at a higher level, because that's how you bring issues to the forefront at the very top. And then you can work with the leaders at the top and make strategies that then help the residents. So it's definitely 100% important. And these are the leaders that will be in office for the next 4 years. So 4 years, obviously it's a lifetime. It's one Olympics to another. And from there, a lot of change can be made. And we're putting in pillars that will create opportunities for future generations. So right now, some things you might see change physically on a road, for example, within a year. You might see change in certain areas within 2 years, but certain strategies and plans that you're doing with a vision of where you want to be can take anywhere between 8 and 20 years. So right now, it's very important that we look at the candidates that are advocating for certain issues and identify what are the things they are looking to do to create change now for the communities and for the future.
Yeah, and if elected, working in city government, it's a collaborative approach, as you know. So what do you think is at stake when it comes to the next mayor of Windsor? How you hope to work with whoever is in a leading city hall to really move Windsor forward?
All right. Well, one of the things is obviously we need to be collaborative altogether. I know each of us who are elected to council will have our priorities for our wards, but then we have to look at what's the best for the city, and then from there prioritize the implementation of our certain issues that we can address and then aid in helping our community. At the same time, Windsor plays a pivotal role in the region as well. So one of the things I would love to do is not only advocate for my ward in the city, but find ways to partner and collaborate with county council and work with the different municipalities, because we are one unit. I could talk about the hospital, for example, and the benefits of a mega hospital, and also how I still advocate at the same time as a mega hospital for 24-hour services that are in our downtown core in Windsor West. But it's very important to have people who have experience at the table and people that are very open-minded and collaborative to listening to different communities to identify issues that are representative of a myriad of different backgrounds, and then work together to find ways to bring those together. Example, if it's between transit and quality of life, through accessibility. I just made the talk about roads and how those come together and how they can form networks to other wards, and then at a bigger level, how we can look at regional transport in the future, and how that creates opportunities. But it's very important that this elections, people definitely do their due diligence, explore all the candidates, look at their platforms, look at what they have to offer and their experience and their track record in bringing ideas and projects to fruition, and working with the community. Do you have someone that has skills and abilities that has worked across public, private, nonprofit sectors and with both able-bodied and disabled groups? I know I can raise my hand on that one, but it's great to see people that are putting their names forward, and it'll be really amazing to see the dynamic that comes out after the 24th of October.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on it a little bit, but I'll give you the space to tell me how do you think we can make Windsor more innovative, and what's the key to sort of retaining the top talent within a city limits when people graduate from a college or university. What's the key to keeping them here, in your opinion?
All right. Well, basically, we definitely have to find ways to empower them. Right now, we are a different world after the pandemic, and the way that residents communicate now is a lot different than we did even 10 years ago. The way that we interact through social media, the way that we engage one another, the way that we work together on different projects. Though we are collaborative, we still have to find ways to engage the younger community to bring their input and engagement forward so that we can retain talent. And I know, having worked in different communities, you see when talent leaves Windsor, and you hear of the stories where people, they go to Toronto or they go to Ottawa, and it's fantastic. And you want to be like, oh, I want to keep that here. I've been very fortunate because I've in some capacities have still lived in Windsor, but got to work on provincial and national projects. So I didn't leave Windsor, but it was unique where you get to see Windsorites shine in different capacities. And I could think of my own cousin right now, who's head of pediatrics at DeVos Hospital in Grand Rapids. And I'm like, how can we not keep someone like that here? This is his home, and it's someone that I would love to keep. But there's so many stories like that, and we need to create more opportunities. I know that the example of the acute care mega hospital will bring in specialized doctors, and that could be talent that comes out of Windsor that we keep here. We need to, again, diversify our economy and the types of businesses that we can attract and retain to create more opportunities. But it does start at a younger level. And I know when it comes to physically disabled, again, it starts with at the school age, right? So if right away going into university or college, and I have the pleasure of working at both, but if we can create more opportunities for them to work in the community, if it's Canada summer jobs or through work placement or internships, there's opportunities that we can keep that talent here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeremy, when you talk to people within your ward and throughout the city, what are they really telling you about? What's keeping them up sort of their kitchen table issues that they're excited to talk to you about? What are you hearing out there?
All right. Well, there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of hope, actually. And it's interesting because I talk to everyone if I'm in my own ward, if I go to an event, and right now we're amidst the politics, and you can see people out campaigning. And right now you have a number of candidates coming from different background and experiences. And I think the overall feeling I get personally is that there is excitement and hope because of the fact that it's something new, it's something different, and there's people that are definitely have the experience that will come together to kind of move our community forward in a unique direction. And right now, there's a little bit of a younger demographic that brings new talents and experiences to the table, which will be really exciting to see. And I know that we look at things in a little bit of a different way. As soon as I saw your post, I wanted to reach out to you because I wanted you to know that someone's got your back and that someone is genuinely thinking about you. And I'm very glad that you completed that write-up, pardon me, and thought about that, because definitely going into this, I thought about your community.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, Jeremy, I'm curious to ask you, how do you think you make Windsor a more affordable and attractive place to live?
All right. Well, it's a unique question. So right now, if I was to buy a home, it's next to it's very difficult right now. And I know that we're coming out of the pandemic, and some of the housing and the units are coming down in price. Which is great because there are new homeowners that then this makes it a little bit more palatable to purchase a home or take out a mortgage for a home. And those that bought it during the pandemic, it's a little bit scary to see what will happen down the future. But I know that there are things that we're doing to not only attract new residents, but keep residents. So, the upkeep of our parks and green spaces is very important. Keeping a community that's presentable, clean, and fresh is very attractive. A place where people can rest and play, or walk their dogs, or ride their bikes in a safe community. Those are things that are outside of work that people look for. We also look for opportunities that have businesses and things to do. I think Windsor, obviously, because of the fact that we're not only a border city, but we have accessibility to obviously the U.S. and everything that goes there, from sports to culture through to us driving to Toronto. We're in a unique opportunity, obviously in a very warm climate that already makes us a destination of not only a choice to visit, but a destination to live.
And to that point, Jeremy, I'm curious to get your thoughts on inflation and how it impacts everyday Windsorites and the decisions they have to make at home.
Well, it's difficult in the fact that now we are looking for more affordable ways to live life. All right. And for example, it's also a good thing. It could be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. For example, daily when I after my son, I get my son for school, we'll go out, we'll do something. If it's go to Faro Riverside Miracle Park, or if it's going to Kiwanis Park, we'll look for ways that we can engage and play and more cost-effective solutions. However, I still do treat them, and we do a lot of fun things in the area. But with inflation, with the cost of everything rising, it does make it difficult, when we consider travel options or gas. But on a flip note, that's also, once again, good, because I'm also advocating for more active transportation. So again, if it's walking, running, biking, scootering, like as in kids on their scooters, looking for ways that we can increase our participation in a variety of recreational sports, find ways to support climate change, and obviously the less emissions that we have, the better it is for our community. So it's interesting where, yes, inflation is very tough, but there is a bright side to it, depending how you look at it, that we can definitely adapt to.
Yeah, and Jeremy, my final question for you this afternoon has to do with when and if you're elected. If you're elected, tell me, what are some of your top priorities day one on the job? How do you really want to improve the quality of life for people of your ward and the residents of Windsor as a whole?
All right. Definitely. I'm already actually on the side writing it. I'm researching. I'm writing down information. For example, I would like to take the active transportation master plan that's been created for the city and develop a Ward 6 centric, a localized one, which identifies issues, enhances education, fosters quality of life, and improves our participation in walking, riding, what we say human-powered movement. And from there, find ways to work with the community to identify what are the areas for improvement, or the highest impact areas that we can make a difference. Because then from there, if we know there are certain streets that we want to fix, that for example, these can be used by riders if it's interlinking Riverside Drive to the next ward, and putting in accessible opportunities and bike lanes and crosswalks. And that became the priority of the ward. That's something I would want to aim for first. And then that way that, we can attack a number of issues together. But definitely a localized plan to support the active transportation master plan one, working in collaboration with the committee would be very high on my agenda. I would find the community partners, the like-minded leaders, sit them down together, put them to task, I guess, and coming up with a executable plan by priority to make the highest impact. From your perspective, for example, I would definitely advocate for a task force, and I 100% agree that we have to look at job opportunities that would parallel the accessibility community, and then we need to engage people like you who will firsthand share what it's like, what you experience daily, and how we can respond to the needs of the community. There are a lot of things we have to tackle. I know that the mega hospital will be one, and what will go with that, and I want to get on that too right away. There are people that are waiting, and there's just a lot of things that we have to work toward collaboratively.
Yeah, absolutely. I lied. I had one more for you.
No problem.
In terms of compromise in the current political climate, how do you think we can create a better environment of compromise when it comes to making political decisions in the city? And then finally, looking at things like policing and healthcare, what are some of your ideas to improve in that area as well?
Okay. Well, right now, when it comes to compromise, for example, if all of the councillors and the mayor are working together, we can you do it the very simple way. And if it's by private meeting first, and then we bring it forward, identify what all of our issues are, prioritize the issues, and then find commonalities that we can work on together to attack those issues and make a difference. And or we can prioritize them and work through them in an order that, again, from highest areas of impact, will create a change positively for our residents. There are ways that we have to work together, obviously, to compromise. We are fighting for our own wards, but at the same time, we are fighting for the residents of the entire community. And that's where sometimes we have to look at what are the priorities. So right now, to someone that lives a few streets over, a four-way stop sign is a definite high priority, whereas a major intersection on the west end in Sandwichtown might be something else. So we have to look at, what are the priorities, how does it help the most amount of people, and then implement the tactics that will take care of those issues. When it comes to healthcare, I know that with the acute care mega hospital, it's interesting because obviously we have you can tell there's still a division of where it should go, and it's interesting because of the fact that I look at it from two standpoints, where in a work capacity, I'm supportive and we advocate to help people in the downtown core and Windsor West as it relates to homelessness and poverty. But at the same time, I look at, what is accessible for all. So I look at the people, although they're not my ward or not my municipality, I look at people in other communities and say, okay, does this make this accessible? Does this, the location of the acute care mega care hospital at County Road 42, is that accessible for all? And then from there, what can it introduce? Is it still, offering services that we have or have not had? So by definition of acute care, those are things that hopefully we can bring in specialized doctors, we can educate the community, we can retain those doctors and services so that people that I know don't have to travel to London. At the same time, I 100% advocate for continued services, 24-hour services in the downtown core. I wish, again, I had a magic wand and I could erect Grace back in the day, because that's a beautiful location. But obviously, with the issues that we're dealing with downtown that way, and still having services for Windsor is great. But I guess I do continue to think locally, but I do have a regional vision as well. And although I'm running a candidate for Ward 6, it's interesting that I can think regionally as well and think about the needs of others in other communities.
Yeah, and just quickly, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the current state of policing in the city, and what do you think we have to do to make Windsor a safer community?
Definitely empower the police. I know that, for example, all of us, or those running, the incumbents or those running for the seats in their respective wards, there are things that we can do to implement enhanced policing services in the area, but we definitely need a working police force that will take care of business, that will deal with issues. I know that there's things I see every day, and I shake my head at. And there's times where I wish I was a police officer. I would definitely be issuing speeding tickets, and I'd be definitely dealing with people right there on the spot. And I know that we need to definitely increase our presence. I know that there's, and you've probably read in the media, it's no secret about the issues that have come about with mental health, and giving people the ability to deal with those issues, but we have to help those people that have mental health conditions as well. But basically, we need to strengthen and empower the police force to do more work and take care of our community.
Absolutely. And Jeremy, tell me, if people want to get connected with your campaign and find out more about your platforms, buddy, what's the best way they can do that?
Well, definitely, I invite everyone to go to jeremyrenaud.ca. There you can learn about all my platforms at a Ward 6 central level, municipal level, and regional one. You can contact me directly. I'll give you my phone number right now, 519-566-1735. I'll definitely respond. You can email me or contact me on social media. All my details are on my website, jeremyrenaud.ca.
Fantastic. Well, Jeremy, it's always great to see you, and I want to wish you the best of luck and staying safe on the campaign trail, buddy. I know that you have a hard-headed approach, and you really want to make Windsor a safer and better place to live, buddy. I want to wish you the best of luck on your campaign, and I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and keep up the great work yourself.